Have one of the most compelling journalists in the world right now, Lara Logan, to help me understand what's going on with the southern border, what's going on with the January 6 lies, and so much more. Lara, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you for having me, Stephen.
I know a big story that you've put a lot of time into over the years is exposing the corruption at the southern border, the fact that we're being invaded on the southern border. Just 2 days ago, Elon Musk said that he believes that this is setting the United States up for something extremely dangerous. It then came out that the Biden administration, in order to take pressure off of Border Patrol and attention off of the southern
Yeah.
border, was flying 320,000 illegal immigrants into the country using our taxpayer money. What are your thoughts on this border invasion? What are your thoughts on these secret flights from Joe Biden from other countries into the United States?
Stephen, it's so interesting to me that you prefaced that statement about the flights by saying that in order to take pressure off Border Patrol. Do you see what you did there? That's how insidious information warfare and influence operations really are. Was the real reason they did this to relieve the pressure on Border Patrol? No. The real reason they did it was to hide it. What has the Biden administration been consistent about regarding the border from day one? First of all, they have never acknowledged that it's a crisis, right? Never. They use the language of the globalists, right? A global policy on migration that is being implemented in the United States. This is the policy that that declared that migration is a human right. Go back to the 2018 United Nations Global Compact on Migration, and you will see that when they made migration a human right, they then began to talk about regular and irregular flows of migration. And that is what Jen Psaki first and then Karine the Idiot, that's what they start. That's the language that they use at the podium. That's the language of the Democratic Party today, right? That's why it can't be a crisis. It can't be illegal because you're exercising your human right. And let's not forget that with the climate change, we're going to have this 2 billion people or so, right, who are going to need to migrate, and we're going to have to accommodate them because they're not doing anything wrong. This is not their fault. And so all of this is untrue. I mean, there's not 1 ounce of truth to any of it. But what they have done is they've taken a globalist policy and they are implementing that, bypassing the legislature, bypassing the voters, even the voters in their own party. And they are implementing a globalist policy at the expense of national sovereignty and of our own laws. And they not only did Biden send his emissaries, Jake Sullivan and another woman, go all over Latin America to let people know that the border would be open and to encourage them to come because they wanted this. They also began building facilities and rebuilding facilities that Donald Trump had shut down in order to accommodate this mass influx. What they did is they maxed out their capacity to do that because they've been more successful than their wildest dreams. They have all of these people coming, but from day one, they never wanted you to see it. They hid it. They denied journalists access. They removed the word illegal from the language of the Border Patrol and Customs and Border Protection and Homeland Security and all across the US government. They said, no, no, no. And you will notice we now only talk about migrants. We don't talk about illegal immigrants in the national discourse. And this extends to places like Newsmax, who took a knee, right? They bowed to that same God. And what they're doing is they are rewriting the law on their own terms, implementing their own policy, but they want to do it in secret. They don't want you to, because what happened, who remembers the Haitians? Remember there were 12,000 Haitians under the bridge? Okay, now that was no bueno, right? They didn't like that because people saw right early on in the Biden administration, they saw what this policy actually looks like, this globalist policy on migration. And they know that if people see it, they will react against it unfavorably. They do not want this. They don't want to be invaded, whether they're Democrat or Republican. So what they did, they cleared out that area under the bridge. They just got rid of all the Haitians. You talk to anybody involved in this administration's policy, in implementing the policy, whether it's the people, contractors who are hired to transport children and illegal immigrants from Health and Human Services to one of the NGOs or one of the Catholic charities and these other organizations that are being paid by the administration to take these people in and get rid of them. Get rid of them as fast as you can. Look at Tara Rodis, an extraordinary woman, works in the Inspector General's office. She's been a public service for decades. She volunteered to go down and help. She was a Democrat, Spanish speaker. She was rushed down there to help the Biden administration. What she discovered is that they're sending 20, 30, 40 kids to one address in Texas. Wait, unaccompanied minors are supposed to be coming here to be reunited with their families. Why are they going to a sponsor and 30, 40 kids going to the same address? Why aren't they going to their mother or their father? Oh, wait, there's 3, 4, 5 sponsors at the same address. So what did she do? Well, as an inspector general and a bureaucrat, she went to her superiors and she thought they were going to do something about it. What did she find? No, they said to her, Tara, we don't get sued by traffickers. So shut up, keep your mouth shut, and, and move aside. And Tara has, now she's building a plethora of whistleblowers, as far as I know, most of them Democrats, who cannot believe what they're seeing at the southern border. They're shocked and horrified beyond description. Things like a 12-year-old boy in diapers because he's been raped so many times getting to the country that his body can't control itself anymore. It's been torn away. And this is very common in repeated rape or gang rape. I worked with doctors many years ago who did repair surgeries for rape victims like that. So it's something I'm familiar with. And if you look at these whistleblowers and what they're trying to get you to see is that this is a very well orchestrated and managed trafficking operation by the federal government. What they cannot risk is having all these people gather in one place where the truth is evident. Now what's happened is that over time, the numbers have gone higher and higher and higher and higher. And so now it's how many thousands released on the streets of San Diego, in Denver, in New York City, migrant hotels, right? There's so many people, they don't know where to put them. And so they're being exposed. And I honestly believe the only reason you and I are having this conversation, the only reason they were forced to admit that they flew all those people in is because this is an election year. And it has reached a point where hiding it is becoming harder and harder. Look at that. They announced to the whole country that they flew these children in, that they went around all of us, that they used taxpayer dollars for something that most taxpayers do not support and do not want their money spent on. And what was the result? Nothing. They just got away with it. I mean, maybe there's some committee that's going to write some letter that's going to try to issue, some kind of demand to come and testify. We have how many months before the election? I mean, in no time at all, what you're going to start hearing from all of these politicians is that, oh, we can't have this committee and we can't take this action because that will be seen as election interference. We're now in that golden window before the election. In fact, Amy Coney Barrett very helpfully made that argument already in her dissension in the last Supreme Court decision on keeping Trump off the ballot, when she said we're already in the election season. Why did she do that? She was already laying the groundwork for not having to do a single thing between now and November, for not having to ask for any accountability or do anything, because now this is an information shaping operation, right? You have now laid down the battlefield. This is just what they did with COVID. What did they tell everybody? Oh, on the day of voting, when first results come in, it's going to look like Trump has won at the landslide. But once they count those mail-in ballots, he's going to lose, because more Democrats use mail-in ballots than Republicans. That was nonsense. That was how you set up the cheat. Because then when it happened, everybody could say, yep, we told you, and people believed it. Or they didn't know what to believe, but they thought, okay, well, it sounds credible because that's what they told us. What are they saying now? They're telling us that, oh, you know, if Trump wins, he's going to do this. And if Trump wins, it's going to mean that. None of that is true. But they're so afraid that he's actually going to pull it off and stop the cheats and somehow make it to the polls. And they're going to be prevented from some, you know, big excuse to cancel the election, like an emergency powers or some a false flag event or something of that nature. They're so afraid that they're going to be trapped into having this election between a half-wit and probably the most popular president in the history of this country, that they are already preparing the ground for every eventuality. And I look at the last 4 years, we have barely talked about the border. There are some Republicans that stood up, but they're few and far between. Republicans have done almost nothing because, you know, I don't even, in many respects, there aren't two parties. They're the same people, and some of them go into this one and the others go into that one. But they vote the same way, they think the same way. And you know what? Most of all, at their core, they despise the people. They despise the people of this nation. They despise the masses. They pretend to care about all these people coming across the border. They don't, because they don't care about their own citizens. So how does it, and so if you're illegal, we care about you. If you're not illegal, we don't care about you. No, that doesn't make any sense. We all know that's not true. So what you're looking at here is an unmitigated disaster where a globalist policy on migration has been forced on the American people with the aim. There's one mistake that I think a lot of people make when I hear them talk about the border. Everybody says, well, the Democrats are doing this so that they get more votes. Okay, so people coming from a remote village in Guatemala who've never seen a doctor in their life, not only do they not speak English, they don't speak Spanish, they're not coming here to vote. Okay, they don't know anything about voting. They've never voted in their lives. What these people represent is the ability for people like in California, when you have the census, what do? They count. Every one of these sanctuary states counts all the illegal citizens, all the illegal immigrants in their country, in their states. And then they submit that. Well, what does that do? It increases the number of delegates that you get in the House. So what does that do? Well, that gives you the ability to control the House. And once you control, as we know, the House and the Senate, you can pretty much do whatever the hell you want, especially if you have the presidency. So it's really, really important for people to understand that it's not just about getting people to go and vote for Joe Biden. It's one about the census and the delegates in the House, but it is also about what they do in these states is they count these people, register them to vote. Because to register to vote in a sanctuary city, you don't need you cannot be questioned about your citizenship. So you don't even know who's registering you. But then what they do is they submit it to ERIC, the Electronic Registration Information Center, that was co-founded by the Poynter Institute and Soros money. And these people supposedly are, centralizing our databases to help us clean them up. But guess what you can't do with ERIC? You cannot remove someone from the voter rolls based on their citizenship status. You cannot even inquire about their legal status. So what do? They now have you in the voter database. And why is that so important? Because when they cheat, the one thing they cannot have happen is they cannot end up with more votes than registered voters. So they have to pad those voter rolls to give them room to cover up how many votes they stole. And that's why they need to stop the count. That's why you have a water main break, or people just for some inexplicable reason just stop counting when we've never seen that before. Why? If you go back in history, don't take my word for it. Go back in history and look up the dates of the victory and concession speeches in presidential elections. And you will see that the vast majority declared their victory on the day or the next day after the election. And why could that not happen before, last time? Well, they're not going to want that to happen this time either. There's going to be some reason, some excuse, because they need that time to cover their tracks.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, gosh. You gave me a lot of things to think about. This is why I wanted to have you on. I know we only have a couple minutes because you've got another spot that you're about to jump onto. You've got a great multi-part docuseries about the January 6th lies, Ray Epps. Where can I point people What a beautiful dog. Where can I
Thank you.
point people, Lara, to be able to go and see that? And I will point traffic towards that for you.
You can find the show is called The Rest of the Story. Ace. The show is called The Rest of the Story with Lara Logan, and you can find it on my Twitter handle at Lara Logan. You can also find it on truthandmedia.com. Under my highlights page on Twitter, you can get all the episodes, but you can also get all of them on truthandmedia.com. And we've done 10 episodes so far. So if you're looking for that 10 episodes, and you'll have seen them, we've got about 6 to 8 more to go, and we're just working on the fundraising for that.
Okay, great. Well, I will point people towards that. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. You got a beautiful dog, and we really appreciate the work that you're doing. I know that you are a truth teller. I want to help amplify that and get the truth out to people. Thank you so much. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Stephen. I appreciate the help and the support. It means a lot.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.